Where are you guys dialing in from? Monica is in Malaysia, right,
Mm,
Monica?
yes, Kuala Lumpur. Yeah.
Hey, Manila. Who else do we have? Beijing. Wow, Perth, Philippines, Zanzibar,
Oh, wow. Beautiful.
Quezon City, Philippines. Amazing. You guys are coming from all over. Thank you for joining us. I am very, very excited about this evening's introduction and talk about systemic family constellations. I'm sure you guys are going to get so much information and insight. For those of you who are joining us for the first time, um, we are the Third Eye Wellness, and we are hosting Monica this evening. And she is a pioneer in this field, and I'm very excited to introduce her. But before I do, just a little bit about the Third Eye Wellness. We are a haven to all things wellness. Our goal is to inspire people to want to evolve and grow and shift. And my background is hypnotherapy, theta healing, pranic healing, a lot of once we get into this field, we just want to do everything. And now I am studying under Monica, family constellations, which is why I'm so excited and so thrilled to bring her on this evening. So I will wait about another minute or so, but I would love to ask everybody, has anybody heard or tried or um, our family constellations before? And if you do have any questions, feel free to PM me or type it in the chat box because Monica is not going to leave till she answers your questions this evening.
That's a big promise.
So keep those questions coming because when I started learning about family constellations, I think I was one of those in class, right, Monica?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, Maisha. Yes, Maisha. And it's wonderful to be a forever student and learning and curious. And that's how you're going to learn and shift
Mm.
and get to know more. Okay, so it's 8:05. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do a very a short introduction to you, Monica. So today we're so grateful to have you with us. Monica is the founder of the Heart Sanctuary
Yeah.
in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, where she works very deeply with systemic family constellations, helping people make sense of patterns, relationships, and life situations that don't have clear answers. She is and has trained with many well known teachers in the systemic field and is also the ambassador from Malaysia for Constellators International, which really shows her commitment to bringing this work into Southeast Asia. Monica truly believes that constellation principles are the foundation of all healing and even says they should be taught in schools. I think that is a great idea. So, what makes her work especially powerful is that she's not just theoretical, she has a strong background in NLP, clinical hypnosis, brain spotting, trauma informed approaches, and she weaves all of this together in a very grounded and human way. And her work is also very personal to her because growing up in a dysfunctional family in Poland and coming from a country with, of course, a lot of collective trauma, she went on her own healing journey and discovering constellation work completely changed her life. But you will listen to her story and know more about that. She brings a lot of respects to roots, family systems, and the wholeness of each person she works with, which allows her to hold even very challenging topics with so much care and depth. So please help me warmly welcome Monica Wyss. Hello.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Maisha. Wow, that's something to listen to you talking about me. Okay, good evening, everyone. It's also 8 p.m. in my place in Kuala Lumpur. So we are in the same time zone with most of you, not all of you, but most of you. And I'm truly looking forward to share just a little bit of what I've experienced, what I know about constellations, because it really is a foundation of our life, in my opinion. Before I share anything, I'd like us to become more present. So I invite you to close your eyes or just lower your gaze a little bit, just that you can focus on being in your body, paying attention to your breath without trying to change anything. Just noticing how you feel. Are there any sensations in your body? Any feelings, emotions? Or maybe thoughts are running through your mind? Whatever there is, just acknowledge that it's there and allow it to be or to change as it wants to change. Give yourself this time really to yourself and also your family that is basically within you. We are just human beings and it's just one body when we look at each other. But actually, what we carry is we carry all the history and all the ancestors within us. So I always say, even though there is just few people in the room, or right now 39 people on the Zoom, but it's very, very crowded because we always are connected to our family members, consciously and unconsciously, because we came through them. So just with this awareness that you are the outcome of love of so many, I invite you to take a deep, conscious breath and open your eyes, or just look at the screen whenever you are ready, looking at all those beautiful people. I hope you see the other people and you are not only looking at me. And one more time, welcome, welcome to this evening. So thank you, Maisha, for organizing this beautiful meetup and having that idea at all to share constellation work in Philippines, but also share with all the people who know you, who know third eye wellness. And I'm pretty sure that you wanted to share it because you can see how it can benefit every single person in our lives. Okay, so I have just a tiny little presentation that I'd like to share with you. It's more actually for me that I'm keeping it, in a way that I know what to talk about. Because as I was sharing before with Maisha, I can talk for such a long time about so many things. So, who am I? Most of the things Maisha shared about me, but basically, I am just a person who is truly passionate about constellation work. I teach constellations and I also facilitate since 2008. So it's been a while. It's 19 years. No, 18 years already. And I came across constellation because my daughter couldn't sleep through the night. So I went to a therapist who was working with kinesiology, with muscle testing. And she found out, she went straight into the root cause of the problem of the sleep issue. My daughter couldn't sleep for 5 years since she was born. And then when she was 5, I finally went to a therapist after trying the normal psychotherapy and also homeopathy and the allopathic medicine. And this particular therapist found out within one session what was the root cause of the sleeping issue. And it went back to my family system. And you will hear me saying this description, this word family system or systemic constellation many, many times, because we are not talking here just about the individual person, but we are talking about us within the family system. So when the therapist found out what was the root cause of the sleeping issue, we did a process, and it was really a very touching process of acknowledgement of my cousin who passed on during pregnancy. And then I had to go home. I had to give a name to this little baby who died, unfortunately. And 2 days later, my daughter started to sleep. So this was a miracle in my life. This was in 2001, and I never looked back. Since then, my daughter slept through. And if she's not sleeping nowadays through the night, that it's her own issue and not the systemic issue anymore. So I was amazed. I was, as you heard from Maisha, I'm originally from Poland, but I've been living in Switzerland at this time with my husband, who is Swiss, and my two children. So my therapy session with my daughter happened in Switzerland, but it's not only that she got well, she got better, but also my aunt. So that was the mother of that baby who died during the pregnancy of my aunt. She actually started feeling shifts in her life too. And the issue was that she didn't process her grief after losing the baby. So, for some reason, that grief was passed down through the generations. And my daughter picked on it, and she was expressing that grief through crying during the night. So, on one side, she was carrying the grief. On another side, she was also connected to that baby who was never truly acknowledged. And in few minutes, when I talk a little bit more about acknowledgement, you will understand why it is so important to include every single person who was ever conceived. Because if we don't do that, that this is what can happen. It can, the um, the unprocessed trauma, the unprocessed emotions can be passed down the generations and can be expressed by other people who are connected to the family, like in this case, my daughter. So the most amazing part of this therapy session was that, of course, my daughter got well, but the second part was that my aunt, who lived in a totally different country, also felt the shift. So this is how powerful it can be. Yeah, so we can really do this work, and our family members who live somewhere else may feel the shift too. So I come from Poland. I've been living in Malaysia for the past 23 years. So that's my home at the moment. And obviously, I'm a daughter, I'm a wife, I have two children. They are adults now. My daughter is 29 and my son is 25. And as Maisha also mentioned, I opened up a beautiful holistic center in Kuala Lumpur called Heart Sanctuary, where I teach and I do sessions and also invite other teachers and practitioners to share how to heal the heart and the emotions. And that's why I called it Heart Sanctuary. And I consider myself truly a student of life. I'm always in courses. I'm learning more. I'm studying. I would call myself even I'm a student of presence because I believe that presence is what makes us truly more peaceful and fulfilled in life. So now, um, why constellations? Yeah, constellations brought me this huge overview, this huge um, wide, wide understanding of life, I would say. So not it's not only that it helped my daughter, but I realized that constellation is not just a modality, is not just another therapy that we do, but it is truly an attitude and stance towards life. It's like the philosophy. So it comes originally from Bert Hellinger, who was German. He was a priest. He was also a soldier in Second World War, and he was psychotherapist, philosopher, I would even say, and he was always in service to life. And what do I mean when I say in service to life? It is about including everything and everyone. There is in the work that we do, in that attitude towards life, we do our best to stay in not in judgment. Of course, we always have an opinion, but we don't need to judge. We take things as they are, we acknowledge them that they are there, and this makes us feel much more peaceful. And it's not just about that now, it's not about the moment in life that is happening right now. It is more even about the past. As you probably know, many people have issues with letting go, with forgetting things that hurt them. I don't usually use the word forgiving, but people, yeah, they have difficulties to forgive. In constellation, we don't even work with forgiveness. We work with that deep honoring and acknowledgement of everything that happened and every person that ever existed in our family systems. And the moment we say just yes to that, something starts shifting. Exactly how my daughter and I, we said yes to the grief that my aunt was feeling after losing that baby. We said yes to that unborn baby. And suddenly the things totally improved, and my daughter could fall asleep and sleep through the night. And it seems a little bit strange how come that such thing can influence us, can influence a little child. And I come to it later. You will understand why those things happen and what is really a simple remedy for that. And the remedy is, in my opinion, family constellation or a similar way of dealing with the family system. So, what constellation is doing, it's bringing to the light hidden dynamics, hidden entanglements, something that we are not so aware about. Because, as you probably know, whatever we are aware about, we can change it. It's easier to change. When we know that, that the path to the work every morning is having a lot of traffic, then we can consciously change to take a different road. So when we know something, when we know what is the root cause of a problem, boom, we can take measure and change. For certain things, especially repeating patterns, we are not sure what could be the reason. So we start working on ourselves. We start to do the inner work. And sometimes different modalities can help us. There is a lot of healing modalities out there, and they are all good, just that they don't always work for everyone. as usual. That's very, very normal aspect of our lives. And sometimes, if we tried everything and it didn't work, then we may try constellation work. Because constellation brings to the light what's hidden, what we are not aware about. And the best way to bring it up to the surface level, to our consciousness, is actually to do a group constellation. And I will talk about group constellation a little bit later. Constellation also brings order and harmony into our life and our families. So I can really, I can't even express my gratitude for this work because it completely shifted my life and my family life. Because I really truly believe that if I wouldn't have done this work, and of course many other works as well, like Maisha was sharing what she does, I also learn a lot of things. And yet, constellation is just my main approach that I use for myself and also for my clients. So I can only think that if I wouldn't have done this work, I would be in the same shoes or similar shoes like what my parents experienced. And this would be a very unhappy, a very toxic family relationship and life. Because my parents, unfortunately, they were very, very unhappy. So Bert Hellinger, the founder of Constellations, he realized that we are very deeply connected to our past, just like a tree is connected to its roots. So that's the reason why we also call the ancestor lineage, the country where we originally come from, even our language, our culture, our religion, we call all of that our roots. And just imagine if we would be like a tree and we would cut ourselves away from our family, from our culture completely, from the language, from the religion, all of those little roots that make a very big root system. Do you think we could be happy? We could be fulfilled? Some people may say yes, because they really don't like where they come from. And what we realized throughout all the years of doing constellations is that in order to have a fulfilled life, joyful life, peaceful life, being connected to our soul, being connected to our life purpose, we need to have strong roots. And what does that mean? We need to nourish the roots, exactly like the tree needs to be watered, needs to be fertilized sometimes. The tree needs sunlight. We need nourishment in a way of love. Love towards ourselves, but also, and this is something very important that we talk in constellations about, love to our family, however, conscious love. And I will mention in a moment what I mean by that. So, what is constellation and what does it do? Basically, family constellation works with the attitude of acknowledging what is. Like what I mentioned just now, acknowledging the unborn baby, giving him a name. I even planted a little hibiscus tree for him. So acknowledging what happened and also leaving it where it belongs, which in this case with my daughter was leaving that grief, leaving that really very, very very traumatic experience as well with my aunt, and acknowledging that this belongs to her was very healing for my daughter. So in Constellation, we work a lot with acknowledgement. And I say on purpose acknowledgement and not acceptance, because sometimes when we say, oh, I just need to accept the things as they are, funny enough, when we say I accept, there is always this word that wants to come in. I accept, but I wish it would be different. So we work with acknowledgement more than acceptance, because acknowledgement goes deeper. It's an agreement to what happened. What we see is that constellation increase the flow of love. It is practice in presence. And those of you who have experienced constellation before, or you read about it, or maybe you watched some YouTube videos, you can actually see that there is a lot of stillness, a lot of being in the present moment, and allowing the process to happen in the body of the client and also representatives. I'll talk about it in a moment. Through this work, we are able to release and transform entanglements. And entanglements are exactly those unconscious repetition or carrying of someone else's fate or emotions. This is what my daughter was doing. So my daughter was carrying the grief from my aunt, and my daughter, through her behavior, was showing that this unborn baby was not acknowledged. And this is something that we can discuss a lot about children, that, we say that children don't really have a lot of problems. Usually they show us with their behavior what's not right, either between the parents or in our family system. So my daughter, through not sleeping during the night and crying, waking up many, many times per night, she was literally trying to bring my attention to that unborn baby, that it wasn't acknowledged, and also these emotions of grief that my aunt wasn't able to process. And it's been carrying through the generations. And what we do in constellations, so we are moving from those entanglements, and we call them as well blind love of a child. A child, and even we as adults, we are children of our parents. We are unconsciously loving, and we are unconsciously being ill to our family members. And the interesting point is that, of course, the most significant people that we are loyal to are our parents. But as you could see in my daughter's example, she was loyal to my aunt, my mother's sister. So we can be unconsciously loyal to some family members who were excluded. And this is what we call blind love. In the constellation process, we are moving from that blind, unconscious love to conscious love of an adult. All of you are adults. I don't see any children here. And that's our job in a way. Our job is to consciously love people, or if we don't love them, then at least acknowledge them that they exist, and really not being loyal to the trauma, especially. We can be loyal to joy, we can be loyal to happiness, but it's not helpful when we carrying trauma. I think you would agree, probably. So Many issues that we are facing in our lives did not start with us. When it started with us, that's what I said. It's simple. It's very simple. We are aware of an issue, we can change it. But many of them have root cause in the family system. Why? Because we are all connected. So even if we don't know for example, our great grandparents, not many people know their great grandparents. Um, we don't know the fifth generation before we came, yeah, before us. Even if we don't know them, it still affects us. It can affect us if something was unresolved. Yeah. So again, talking about my daughter, the grief was not processed. This baby was not acknowledged. How do I know that it wasn't acknowledged? I only found out later, actually. Actually, I didn't know it during that therapy session. I found it out because my cousin um, has told me that this baby, he died during the 6 months pregnant, during the pregnancy at 6 months. And back in those days, I think it was in the 80s, if I'm not mistaken, must be. Well, we don't even know what happened with the body. Yeah. So it was in the hospital. My aunt had to give birth to this baby because he died in the womb and they couldn't do the C-section. She had to do the natural birth. And then he was taken away and I don't know, probably discarded, right? So that baby didn't have a grave. That baby didn't get a name. And that means that this baby, even though it wasn't full grown baby already, but it existed for 6 months, was not acknowledged and included in the family system. So this is what happened. And because he wasn't included, someone else, and in this case, my daughter, started showing this behavior of not sleeping so that I become aware, so that I start looking for the root cause and find him in a way and acknowledge him as a part of our family so that he's not forgotten, he's not excluded anymore. So we can really, really see that certain patterns can also repeat. Like, for example, abortions, miscarriages can repeat in every generation or every second generation. Separation, divorces can repeat. And all of that can go actually to a systemic root cause that happened few generations ago, and we are not aware of it. Yeah. So whatever happened in the past, this really shapes behavior and emotion in the past, and it is stored in our body. We know, meanwhile, we are really lucky that there is so much scientific research nowadays about epigenetics that we know for sure that actually we can carry the generational trauma of our parents, grandparents, great grandparents, and be completely unaware of it. There is a lot of research on the internet that you can read about and even watch YouTube videos, and that is the explanation why we can resolve a lot of things with constellation work, because we are looking for the root cause in the past, and not only in our past, but in the past of our family. Yeah. So generational, or some people call it intergenerational or transgenerational trauma, is real. And we all carry it more or less, some of us more, some less. And it's, yeah, I would say I'm really grateful to constellation work because through this constellation, we can actually let go and we can heal. And the beautiful thing is that we are not healing only ourselves. When we do this, when we do constellation work, it has a ripple effect to the past. So it is healing our ancestors and also towards the future. So those of us who have children and even grandchildren, it is also influencing positively our children. Now, you could ask, why do we carry those traumas and those emotions? Why do we repeat the patterns? The answer is love. And I spoke about it. This is the blind love that is binding us to our family. We as human beings, we want to belong, especially as children. We have to belong. We wouldn't survive alone on the street as a baby. We just wouldn't. So we need to belong to a group, to a community, to a family. And in order to belong to a family, we adapt as well. And we adapt consciously. So we start believing certain things about ourselves. We start creating behavior that keep us safe in a way, but also unconsciously, we start being loyal to our ancestors and to our parents so that we belong to the group, so that we are, in a way, sharing the fate that they have. Through sharing the fate, we feel okay, we have the same aim, we have the same goal, we belong. And this happens totally unconsciously. Yeah. And that's why we need a process like family constellation or hypnosis is also able to really tap into that deep unconsciousness that brings it on the surface. We can look at it and we can release it. So that's the reason that we need to see it. Only then we can release it. Yeah. And constellation is one way of doing it. And it's a beautiful way. It's very, very deep process. So now just a quick essence of constellation, or not just constellation, essence of our life. Bert Hellinger realized that there are certain orders of love that need to be kept in each family for the families, for the people to thrive, to be peaceful, to be happy, to be joyful, to be literally in that flow of life and not struggling or suffering. And if those orders of love have not been kept, especially in the past, this is what causes entanglements, and this is when we start developing issues. So the basic uh, points of the laws, the orders is belonging. And that's something that if you have something to write, you may even write it down. Every single person who was ever conceived in your family system has the same right to belong. This is what I noticed when I did that therapy session for my daughter. So even though everybody knew that my aunt was pregnant and lost a baby, but this baby did not have a proper place. Proper place in a family comes through acknowledgement from the heart, and also, especially in case of miscarriages, abortions, stillborns, or even children who are given away, we need to give them a name. So by giving a name, we truly, truly include that child into the family. So every person belongs, no matter what they did, Sometimes you can think, especially in the past, there were many people who were excluded. They were called black sheep, scapegoats. People were judging them. And we can think about people who were mentally ill. They were locked in an institution. Nobody spoke about them. When something like that happened in your family, and it doesn't have to be in your current family, meaning you and your spouse and your parents, aunties, uncles, it can be far, far back that someone was excluded, someone was judged for their beliefs or their sexual orientation or their mental illness. This happened in my family a lot. My grandma was mentally ill and nobody spoke about it. It was a secret. Nobody ever actually labeled and admitted that my grandma had a mental illness. People, my aunties, my uncles, they were ashamed of it. And where there is shame, where there is judgment, where there is unprocessed emotion, this is when we see an exclusion. And then few generations later, somebody like my daughter may just start developing some symptoms, behavioral symptoms, and just in order to point towards that person who needs to be included. So you may actually reflect later on about all the people in your family system who were judged or who nobody talks about them, but they existed or they still exist. Or some people also exclude themselves from the families and don't want to be in touch. So all these situations, events, and people may have a big influence on the future generations, which is you, for example, right? The second order of love is hierarchy, and that means that first comes first and needs to be acknowledged. And the simplest example that I give here is, and I'm not sure if you have your own families, your own children, but definitely you are children of your parents. Think about if you, maybe as a child or a teenager, you had to take care emotionally of your mom or your dad, just as an example. Maybe you had to become the big one, the parent of your parent, because something was happening in their lives, and you were put in that position that you were taking care of them, especially emotionally. And if that happened, then the hierarchy is already out of balance because the parents come first and the children come later. Also, in hierarchy, it's important that we acknowledge the previous partners of our parents, also our previous partners. And if we don't, if we say, oh no, this partner is the one and only, and we kind of try to erase the other ones who came before, again, we are putting hierarchy on the head. It's upside down. And it's not even that we need to do it. Maybe somebody in the life, in our family system, did it already, and we just feel the effects of it. Yeah, because why I went with my daughter for therapy was because I could feel the effects of something, which I didn't know what it was, because she couldn't sleep. So very often we go for constellation work when something is happening in our lives that we want to improve. It doesn't have to be a big issue, but we just want to improve it. And often, I would say 99% of the issues are also systemic in nature. And the last order of love is the balance. And the balance means that we need to balance every relationship in giving and taking, because I think that's very easy to understand. Sometimes we give too much, or another person is not even willing or able to reciprocate. And it's important that the balance between giving and taking is there. And also important balance is we cannot heal anyone. We cannot carry anyone's burden or anyone's fate. And trust me, many of us, we are trying to do that. We are literally unconsciously again, out of loyalty, out of blind love. We take on the burden and we carry it because unconsciously we feel that we help our ancestors or our parents when we take it on. And what happens is that actually we weaken ourselves and we also weaken our ancestors because the law of the universe, the order of love says everyone has to carry their own fate. And everyone is responsible for what they did. We can't make up for whatever anyone else has done. So that's basically what it is. And what we see in constellation is that if something is excluded, it will be repeating through the generations, so it can be completed. And I don't know, maybe you've heard that term of cycle breaker. This is, in the New Age spiritual world, is a term that has been around for many years nowadays. And in constellation, we also talk about cycle breaker, and it is us. It is us who do the inner work, who actually break the cycle of the generational trauma. That's the reason why constellation is so powerful, I would say. So we spoke already a little bit about how the problems are created. And as I mentioned, if somebody was excluded, forgotten, or judged, unresolved traumas, losses, the emotions that were not processed, children who, trust me, you can ask Maisha, they love to carry the burden for the parents and grandparents. And it shows up through suffering. And we may suffer financially, health-wise, we may be unhappy in relationships, we may I just got an amazing news from one of my students whom I met, I think it was 11 or 12 years ago, and he always wanted to be a father. They did IVF for many, many years with the first wife, didn't happen, and just now, last Friday, finally, he became a father. Sometimes not being able to conceive is also a systemic issue, has a systemic root cause. And I'm very happy to say that there are some constellation babies that I personally did constellation for the women so that we see what is it, what is blocking the women or the couple in general from conception. Now, I'm not saying that, the constellation just makes you pregnant, but it helps to realize if we carry some burden or entanglement and we can dissolve it. And it definitely helps even if we are going for the treatment. Yeah. So, what issues can be hurt in constellation? I would say almost everything. Almost everything. All the relationship issues can be looked at: intimacy, parent child dynamics, anxiety, overwhelm, depression, financial issues, health topics. With health, it's very complex. It's not as easy as it sounds, but I found out that very often every single illness or symptom has at least systemic root cause as one of the contributor to the illness. So it doesn't mean that we do constellation and the illness is gone, but it is like the opening so that we can follow through with whatever treatment we choose to, and it works better. Because very, very often, health issues are actually a messenger that somebody was excluded. So it's good to look at it from constellation perspective. And also repeated life and work patterns, finances, as I mentioned. A lot of issues can be really looked at in a constellation. There is no end to it. Um, Sometimes only the personal trauma that we may have went through, like for example, a natural catastrophe, may not be systemic, but honestly speaking, I think I can say 99% of the issue always have systemic aspect, so can be looked at. And when we do constellation, what I see with my clients, and you can talk to Maisha and all the other people they have done this work. Very often we start feeling a lot of relief. Yeah. Now, sometimes we need to go home and do other inner work too, but generally it brings a lot of peace, relief. You see your family, your life, your topics from a very different perspective. So I remember in every course that I teach, on the first day, I say that after one day, people will never see the life in the same way again. Never. Because it's the systemic perspective that is very, very wide and broad. It's really like opening a different book and seeing different chapters of our lives. And the understanding of life and the self is very different. And the more awareness we have about ourselves and our lives, what happens? We can deal with our life in a different way. We come more to ourselves. In my opinion, we become much more connected to our soul, to our life path, to our purpose. In a way, we also come to that permission that we give ourselves to choose differently than our family or our ancestors. It's like truly feeling more ourselves. Yeah. Very, very often we are so connected unconsciously to our family that we are enmeshed with them. Especially we women, very often we are enmeshed with the mother, and we are not allowing ourselves to be happier and healthier than our mother or even our father. So constellation helps us to find that path towards ourselves more. And in general, we feel more empowered. Yeah. So I stop sharing here and I just mention a little bit about the group process because I mentioned that we do constellations in the group. This is how it was originally done, and we still do it. And it's an incredible experience. So we have here quite a number of people, and you can just imagine yourselves that we are sitting in a big, big room. And yeah, some of us, we are strangers, we don't know each other. I literally know 3 people here or 2 people here. And we sit in a group of strangers, and you can bring a topic to the table, to the group, and you start choosing representatives for your family members. Of course, I, as the facilitator, I tell you who to choose, which family member to choose. And then you look around the room and you choose strangers. You don't need to bring your family for family constellation because then we probably would have a lot of drama and we don't want that. So from those strangers, you choose people who represent your family members. And after a while, they start perceiving, feeling, having certain sensations, or even behaving, having, standing in a specific way, like your family members. And that's really mind blowing. Yeah, because they are strangers. They don't know you. They don't know your history. You only mention a few things about your topic, and then we start working. And that's the phenomena of family constellation. So Bert Hellinger found out that just by allowing ourselves to step into the roles of other people, we start perceiving how other people feel or felt. And through that, we start understanding the situation differently. This is when we start discovering the root cause, the entanglements, the dynamics running in the family, and we understand why we feel as clients, why we feel as we feel. So, why do we experience this particular topic? I give you an example because just yesterday I was teaching foundation class for Thai people, and there was a student of mine who told me that his father passed away when he was very young, I think 2 months or 2 years, I don't remember. So a boy grew up only with the mother. So the mother was the mother and the father in one for this boy. And she took so much place, so much space in his life until now. Now he's around 30. So until now, the mother is so present, the mother's energy, that he is enmeshed. And he only found it out when I was guiding the students through a little exercise of look at your mom, how you perceived her during the childhood. And he said, I don't know. I see my mom together with me. And this gave us a very big insight that this is one of the reasons why he has difficulty to find a partner, to find a woman, because his mother is so present. And this has been also going on generationally. So it's been happening in other generation. And just by knowing that and then guiding him through a process in the group, which will happen in 1 week time when I'm in Bangkok, or even I could do it with him in a one-on-one process, one-on-one constellation. It releases him from being too close to mom. So this is just one example, and it's very current example. It's not so much about, like with my daughter, carrying the emotions from the past, but also knowing that this has been repeated also releases him from that. So in the group, by looking at people, seeing how they feel, that's what we are able to do. We are able to go through a process of acknowledgement and the process of releasing the past to the past. So we embrace what is and we become really lovingly detached, how I call it, from the past. And this is when we are open to live much more empowered and fulfilling life. And that's what happens. And this is usually mind blowing in a group because people stand in the role and they feel like, wow, I never felt this way. And we realize that we are able to feel this way because we are all connected. So that's something that, yeah, it's beautiful and it's very powerful. And sometimes it brings immediate shift in the body because we are working with the somatic experience in the body. And we move from that unprocessed trauma, from that memory, from that entanglement into the more peaceful and regulated state. So That's what happens in the group. And now I'm open for questions. So you can ask me anything. Like Maisha actually said, she always has a lot of questions. And I love questions because this is how we learn. When we have a specific question, then this is how we understand the whole concept better. And all I can say, through constellation, you are freeing yourself, you are freeing the past generations, and you are freeing the future generations as well. That's the reason why it is so, so profound experience and healing. Okay, so let me know if you have any questions. Yes, raise your hand or write it down. I'm really happy to chat with you and to clarify some things.
I think we have a shy bunch of people here.
Yeah, that's okay. That's
Oh,
okay.
there we go. Evelyn
Yes.
has a question. How long does group constellations last? So, Evelyn, can you just be a little bit specific about the question? Is it, um, could you elaborate a little bit on this question?
Yes. Like, how does it play out? If it's a group constellation, how long is it a session? And then how many groups are there? Can it be minimum of maybe one up to 10 or maybe 20 people? Like, how does it work? And you
Okay.
take turns being the client in that constellation?
Yes. Yeah. So is it okay if I answer, Maisha? Yeah.
Please go ahead. It's all
Okay.
yours.
So usually we are doing constellation workshops, and this is what we are planning to do in Manila, for example. That's what I'm doing in different parts of Southeast Asia. And in Manila, we will have 3 days constellation workshop. So that means we will meet for 3 days. And every day we will have around 5 constellations. So 5 clients. One constellation usually lasts, I don't know, between 40 minutes and even 1 hour and a half. That's very, very long already, um, for one person. So what happens is you share your topic. I ask you a few questions, and I'm always asking questions about events in the family. And then we set up a constellation. Yeah. And this is how we work. So that's how it is. So people take turns. Yes. Those who want to have a constellation, they sign up, and we know, all right, these are the people who are coming to the workshop to have a constellation. Now, the beautiful part about group constellation is also that every constellation is your constellation. So just imagine there is 20 people or even 50 people in a room. We have 10 constellations, 15 constellations over 3 days. Those who come for the workshop, there's no coincidence. It's like every person with a topic, there is some resonance in all the other people. Either the other people personally, they really may resonate with what's happening in the room, in the constellation, or if they don't consciously resonate with it, 100% there is resonance in the system, in the family system. So people who come for such workshops, they really get a lot out of it. They don't get just out one constellation, but it's like from every single person. Does that answer your question, Evelyn?
I Yes, yes.
Okay,
Thank you.
you're welcome. How do we acknowledge, from Nicole, how do we acknowledge an unborn baby miscarriage? You mentioned planting something and naming the baby. Yeah. So what you can do, the easiest way is to light a candle. Yeah. Just a tea light. If you want to, you can also plant a little plant or a tree if you have a garden. But also lighting a candle is enough. And you give a name to this unborn baby, and you really take him or her into your heart. Now, you can also use, I'll show you here. You can also use objects. So I like to work with dolls because, of course, I do constellation for people. So I work with dolls, but you can use any object you have. And this object will represent that unborn child. And you just place it here. Then you place a candle, best, of course, on a stand or in a glass so that it doesn't burn anything. And you take a deep breath. So it has to be done from the heart. It cannot be just, I do it quickly. So you center yourself, you just go inwardly, and then you look at that representation of this unborn baby, and the candle should be lit, of course. And you say, I see you. You are for example, if this is your child, unborn child, you are my first child or the second child, or you are my brother, you are my sister. If it's about the siblings, if you can ask your mom to give a name, would be better. If you cannot talk about such things with your mom, you give a name. And you just say, I take you into my heart, and you belong to my family. You have a place. So you say what we call healing sentences to those unborn babies. And when you do it very, very slowly, it really has a beautiful impact. That's what we did in the session. Yeah. The session is very, very long to find out what's the reason for an issue that we are facing. But the shift, the healing, the processing is not that long. It just has to be felt. It has to be done in a presence. Okay? Is that okay? Nicole, let me know if this is clear. You mentioned that we are doing constellation with strangers, but then how do we know we have this unprocessed trauma that passed down from generations? Well, it shows up. So when so the same happens, you can just imagine here. I choose my mother, and this is me, for example, and then I bring my father, just as an example, yeah? And then we have three people standing, okay? Now, with real people, it's very easy because I will ask every single person how they feel. That's number one. Number two, I will ask you as my client about events in your family, and it will just show up as emotion, as energy. So we may not always have a clarity what happened, because sometimes things show up from 4 or 5 generations ago and nobody knows what it is. But we will see the energy. We will feel the energy in the room. And I will guide you with healing sentences, what I just did about that baby, unborn baby. I will just guide you with healing sentences. And through the healing sentences, we will know. So I agree. We are working with the unknown. Absolutely. And that's the phenomenological approach. That's the phenomena that nobody can actually explain why it's working, but it's working. Hellinger called it a knowing field, that we just know the representative, they know how they feel. They may have emotions of grief, they may have emotion of anger, and based on that, we will figure it out. So that's how it works. Yeah. I'm curious how family constellation address second family dynamics, particularly when a grandmother was born as a result of an affair. Okay, so it really depends what is the issue. So we are not moving back and looking at out of curiosity. So we need to have a specific issue. And when I read that, how do we address second family dynamics? Let's go back to what I said. The first order of love is belonging. We need to acknowledge everyone. So even an affair is belongs to the system. So we need to work with acknowledgement. But again, the starting point is always an issue or something that we want to improve in life. Okay. And so basically, when you look at it, the grandmother was born as a result of an affair, then there are two families involved, correct? The biological and then the other one. And the other family needs to be acknowledged. Only then the successes can be free. Does family constellation work on adopted family members? Absolutely. And adoption is sometimes it is a really big issue, is causing big issues for people who were adopted, especially if they don't know that they were adopted. And yes, we work on adopted family as well. Is it possible to do constellation with another family member, or is it better to do it separately? Depends. So I have in my workshops or trainings couples sometimes. I have mother-daughter. I had niece and an uncle. So it really depends. Yeah. So depends what is the issue, and also depends how open people are. In my opinion, if both persons are very open to this experience, this is a blessing if they can attend together. We just had a constellation with one of my teachers a few months back, and I have one student. I have two students, mother and daughter. They learned after each other, and they were both present. And we were doing constellation for the daughter, and of course, the mother was involved. So the mother got a lot of healing as well, because it's everything intergenerational anyway. Yeah. So depending on the topic, you can always check with me or with Maisha, and we can share if it's better to do it separately or not. Yes, I do online constellations. I do. So the dolls you saw, they are exactly for that. When I teach and when I do it online, yeah, that's what I do. I do. It's possible. And I also do conduct course on constellation. So Maisha just finished last year a foundation course, and we are starting with a practitioner course in 1 month. I do. And right now I'm in the middle of foundation course for a high group. Yeah, so I teach other specific topics for each workshops. Sometimes we do offer specific workshops. I like to offer abundance workshop. I also offer mother wound and father wound healing. This is online and it's series of workshop, but this is not when I do constellation for each person. This is where I guide you, all of you, through processes. But when we offer family constellation workshop that we will be offering in March, it's general, so you can come with any topic you wish. What if it's a fight among family members of the older generation, and the participant is not directly involved, younger generation? I see. So generally we say, remember the hierarchy, when we are younger, we cannot do anything for those who are older, yeah, who came before us. If you want to do some work for the older generation, you need to have their permission. But for example, if this is bothering you in one way or another, if you are affected by that fight, then you can do constellation for yourself. Yeah. Yay. Yes. Any other question? So I can show you some of my objects and dolls, and I work with a board. It is just that I would need to, switch on the other camera that I don't
Monica,
have at the
I'm just
moment.
gonna quickly answer.
Sure.
So, guys, the question was, where is this going to happen?
Okay.
Monica is coming to the Philippines, guys, on the 20th till the 23rd of March. So she will be conducting the group constellation sessions 20th, 21st, and 22nd. So that's 3 days. And she will also be doing some limited one-on-one sessions as well on the 23rd. So we have, as you can understand, limited slots because it's 5 per day. So it's a maximum of 15 people that can join over the 3 days. So we are so excited for this. And yeah, it will be here in Manila. So exciting.
Yes, I am. I am because this is my first time in Manila. So, what a blessing to know Maisha. This is how the universe just plays with the strings and bring us together. So, thank you for that, Maisha. And I'm truly looking forward. My husband is flying to Manila tomorrow, and I will be there in March. But there is also one question by Honey about the theta healing chords and so on and so on. And I feel so I've done theta healing before as well. I've done pranic healing before as well. So I'm a little bit like Maisha. I've learned a lot of things. And sometimes the same topic needs to be looked at from different aspects. Yeah, that's why I'm saying every modality is beautiful and it is working. But sometimes we need to tackle an issue from different angles. And that's what I would suggest. So if I go for a session with someone with a different modality and it's not quite 100%, then I'm looking for a different modality, right? And I work on myself until I really feel better with regards to the topic. So yeah. So yeah. So if you feel that this is not yours, if you are free in March, then it would be lovely if you can come. And if not, then maybe you can do constellation for yourself another time. Okay.
I think you've done really well with the questions. Um, it's Evelyn has a lot of questions. She's my student, Monica. That is why, as you can
Good.
tell, we're the same tree, right? It seems
Good.
in FC, somatic healing is key. Is that correct? If yes, why is this so?
It's not the somatic healing per se, but it is, we need to feel it in the body a bit. So this is why why we use the representatives, right? Because they stand in a role and they will feel and sense and think. So everything comes together. And you, as a client, in the beginning, you can observe what's happening, and there will be shifts happening in your body. Why is it important? It is important because we carry the trauma in the body. Yeah, that's why it's unconscious. If, as I mentioned, if we knew everything, what is the reason for our issues, we would have already got rid of it, right? We would have changed it. But some things are ingrained in our body because of the generational trauma. So the shift has to happen in the body. That's why we work very gently. Yeah, so we work with the body, meaning we just stay present, we observe, we work with the breath, until something shifts. Okay, good. Next
Um,
foundation session in KL. I don't have a plan yet. At the moment, it's online. Yeah, well,
okay, so Monica, I have another question. Um, Can you give a little bit of an example in terms of, let's say, depression or anxiety, or even nowadays, there's a lot of neurodivergence. I know I'm just putting all these names together, and
mhm,
you might be like, okay, they all are different, but at the same time, how could they be coming? Oops,
mhm.
hang on a second. There you go.
Okay. So what we found, so what I didn't say, but maybe that's very important, is family constellation, the whole concept is based on observation. So Bert Hellinger observed, literally observed thousands of constellations. And this is where he found those orders of love, and where the love was not flowing, was interrupted. This is when the problems were the results of love not flowing. So, for example, depression is very often connected, not always. So, don't take it as, oh, this is 100%, but it's very often connected with missing mothers. Just as an example, missing, I don't mean it in a physical sense. It can be that the mother is emotionally unavailable, right? So, especially before. I don't know. Unfortunately, I don't know yet history of Philippines. I will do my homework before I come to Philippines, but right now I don't know. But in Europe, there was a lot of war. So the mothers, they could not be emotionally available in the past generation. So my grandma, great grandma, and so on, they had to survive. It was all about survival. It was about suppressing the feelings, the emotions. Only now, only this generation is learning to allow ourselves to feel. So, depression often comes through disconnection with the mom. And this may have happened for the first time 7 generations ago, not even with your mom. Maybe your mom was there, was emotionally available, but there is some disconnection in the lineage, and we will look for it. Yeah. So that's one of the examples. Another example, anxiety, that could be all the causes, really all the causes. So anxiety is connected with war. Anxiety is connected with the man going to war. Is connected with often with. mm, oh yeah, I just lost it. With losing children, for example, any emotion that has not been processed in the past by others, not ours, not us only, can show up as anxiety. Anxiety is overwhelmed nervous system. So imagine in the past when your uncle, your grandfather, your great grandmother was overwhelmed. Maybe she couldn't bring the food for the children on the table. She lost many children. They died due to hunger. There is a big overwhelm. And such huge things can show up in anxiety. I spoke about this is I find it very, very beautiful example. I spoke about pregnancy. I had a client who couldn't get pregnant. They had a child and they were trying for 7 years. They were trying for the second child, including IVF. They couldn't get pregnant. So this lady came for a workshop. We set up uh, her and her husband, and I asked questions about the history, and we found out through the constellation and my questions that her grandmother or great grandmother, I think, died at birth by giving birth to the second child. So she was carrying that trauma, fear of dying from the great grandmother. And this caused like a self-sabotage of I cannot get pregnant because I will die, exactly like my great grandmother. So, this is the entanglement I spoke about, that we unconsciously repeat the fate of an ancestor. Yeah. And we resolved it. We left it with the great grandmother. We honored her life. We honored her death. We honored the tragedy of the situation because it was tragic. And she made herself free from it. 1 month later, I got a Facebook message that she's pregnant. And now she has 2 children. Yeah. And this kind of situations are happening all the time. People who don't talk to each other, suddenly the mother calls, the father calls after 43 years absence. I'm in awe. Now, it does not happen after each constellation, unfortunately. Sometimes it takes more work, but each constellation brings some shifts. It brings shifts in you because you start being open to the life, to the world, to yourself, to your ancestors in a very different way. You start connecting to the blessings from the ancestors instead of trauma. Yeah. So these are all the benefits of this work. Neurodivergent children, this is something that we are still doing a lot of research. So I can't say too much. And yet, what we see, because by neurodivergent children, very often the behavior is an issue. Yeah, as well. So sometimes it's that they are not understanding things. It's about the intelligence, but very often it is the social skills and the behavior. And again, almost every behavior of a child wants to pinpoint us to somewhere or someone what or who was excluded. Very, very often. Yeah, so this can be one of the issues because, neurodivergent is complex. So I don't want to say it's only systemic, but one of the issues could be that there was someone excluded. Does that
Thank
make
you
sense?
so much. Perfect.
You're most
And
welcome.
we are on time, 9:30.
Yes.
All right. So we did what we came in and promised to
Yes.
do,
Wow.
Monica. So thank
Yeah.
you so much for coming in.
Yes.
Thank you,
Beautiful.
Monica. Thank you for this wonderful,
Thank you
very
so much.
insightful. This is exactly what I imagined this talk would be about. You've kind of covered every aspect of it. And I'm sure a lot of people are very curious and are excited to join when you come
Mhm.
in March. So,
Yep.
guys, do not miss this opportunity. You don't have to go to KL. She's coming to us on the 20th, 21st, and 20, 21, 22. And there's only 15 slots. And we would request that you be there for all 3 days. As Monica says, this is something that you're going to heal from when you play those
Yeah.
individual roles as well.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. Huge
So
benefit, really huge benefit. Mhm.
I will leave the last words to you, Monica.
Well, I thank you. I just really thank you for organizing it, Maisha and Era. Thank you, Chaya, for being here. That's the one person that I know as well. That's beautiful. And thank you, everyone, for joining and being curious, being open. And if you have more questions, please feel free to find me through Maisha. I'm happy to answer. She knows I love questions. I love answering questions because the little bit clarity that we share in the world really, really, truly brings us more to peace in a bigger way. Yeah. Peace in our hearts. And how Bert Hellinger said it, one person at a time, one family at a time, one country at a time, and then we have peace in the world. So, with these words, I leave you there. Thank you so much again, and I hope to see you in March in Manila. Thank you.